Right, everybody. I'm Don Franco 3. This is RPG Boons, and today what we're gonna do a little bit of a test. We're gonna try to create a one shot for, let's say, level 3 characters. Basically, D&D 5th edition, 5.0, 5.5, either one should be fine. And what we're gonna do first is we're gonna randomize it, right? So let's say you need to run a one shot, and this Johnny on the spot ghetto rig style one shot needs to be created immediately. And you definitely don't want to spend a lot of time doing this. So what we're gonna do is just make a quick roll on a D4, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just create a rough one shot based on either of these movies. Yeah, I included Conan twice because I love Conan. So what I'm gonna first do is I'm gonna go to this virtual die roller over here, and we're just gonna randomly choose which one of these we're gonna make. So here's my D4. This is virtual roller from Die Hard Dice. I don't know them. They don't sponsor me. Nobody sponsors me. Um, but what I want to do is use their virtual dice, which I use for my Age of Ruin series. And first thing I want to do is I just want to shuffle my die a little bit. I'm going to throw it in the Mimic. We're going to get a 4. That means we're going to do Willow. Willow wins this one. And we're going to do a one shot based on Willow. So it doesn't really matter if you're a halfling or not, or if you have to be a halfling in the game. So what we're going to do is just going to pick any heroes, right? So let's say you're running one shot, and let's say it's 3 people. 3 people. So I think I've talked to you guys about this before. There's a website called fastcharacterbuilder.com. And we're just gonna, heroes and hand them out. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get some characters together for the players that are gonna be on it. So let's go ahead and go to fastcharacter.com first. Get there. My computer is a little laggy, so if this does not go as planned, we'll see. So here's 2014 Player's Handbook for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just going to click that one. We're going to make some 5e, 5.0 characters. And once we do that, we'll create just a few. And then we're going to save those on our PowerPoint here. So PowerPoint's kind of like my default program that I use to put all my notes, monsters, stuff like that. So we're just going to go to and build that now. So here we go. We're down here, 2014. We're not going to worry about the names or anything like that. We also really don't care about race. We do care about class. So let's go ahead and pick. We're going to pick some of the basics. Okay, so we're going to create I think the totem bear for the barbarian's probably best. We're going to ignore all the background, but we're going to pick a level 3 character, and then we're just going to hit character create. Okay, now you can see it completely generated a barbarian for me. I'm going to zoom out of it a little bit. Okay, that's going to be, it has, a nice name, has all the different ability scores, skills, whatnot. For a beginner, this might be a little hard to read, but you should be able to explain to somebody. So first thing I want to do is there's a snipping tool here on PCs, and I'm just going to take this entire image with me. All right, I'm going to take that. I'm going to pop it here. And later on, I can format it in a way that all the pages are vertical, and then I can print them all out. But for right now, we want to create our character, so we want to create at least 4. We want to pick a barbarian, so I'm just going to hit the back button. It's a little laggy again. 2014 rules. We don't want the barbarian. Let's do a fighter this time. And we want a relatively easy one, so we're going to do a champion, strength-based. Same thing, don't care, so we're just going to hit character create. Here's our other character. Okay, so this is really nice. So whenever you have to run a one shot and you want to just, get characters out to everybody and not spend a lot of time on it, this is a really easy way to do it. So here we go. We got another character here. We're going to go to our next page. And we're just going to build 2 more characters. Okay. So we're assuming running it for 2 different people. Sorry, 4 different people. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this ad real quick. Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I actually watched the entire thing and it was pretty good. It's not too bad. Okay, so next, let's go ahead and pick uh, um, the cleric. Right, we need some type of healer, light domain, life domain. Click that 3rd level again. And then again, I'm just doing this. Hopefully, it's not going to take more than 30 minutes. I don't think it should because I've done these type of crazy type ghetto rig style games before where I just piece things together. You're a DM, your time's valuable, and everybody knows if you're a dungeon master, it takes a lot of time to do this stuff. So you want to try to cut as much time out as you can. Let's see. Bard fighter, maybe somebody wants to be a monk. Let's do. I really like the way of the shadow, but where's the fist one? Other. Well, isn't there? Oh, there it is. Okay, so the same thing. Character creation. Again, this is all in live, so you can see little mistakes I'm going to make. One. So you can see here, I've created 4 characters, hopefully would be a good characters, but that took me a relatively short amount of time to put this together. So we can go ahead and move forward with this. Now, one of the main things that happens is there's a baby that is found. And this is how you would explain it to your players. There's a baby that's been found, and we need to figure out a way to get this baby back to its homeland. And based on some markings that the baby had, we know it's from the northern region. Perhaps we'll say the Vikings or some type of Viking culture to the north. And of course, I just made that up, came out of my head, and maybe it's because I'm thinking of the 13th Warrior. But now we want to find a map that will suit our needs, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put battle maps here. Okay, battle maps. Maybe put mountains and do images. So I'm searching on Bing right now, but you can clearly do this with Google. Google's a little bit better, but I'm just happen to be on Bing here, so I'm gonna hit images, and we can see there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different maps that we can potentially use. Be this entire thing. Now, again, if we can't print this in terms of like having players play on it, that's fine. We can just describe what's going on, but then we can set up, some ambushes. So we're going to do some maybe cannibals. Okay. On the way to the town up north to deliver the baby, we're going to just do stat block 5E, and then we'll do savage. Let's see what happens when we hit savage. Then I'm just going to hit images. Okay. We're getting a decent list of stat blocks here. So the other thing you want to look for is this resolution number. So I think you should be able to see it. Maybe not. But if you put your YouTube to high definition, you might be able to see these numbers here. But most images will have this resolution that says JPEG 236 by 227. And what we're looking for is something closer to the thousands range. Okay. This will make sure that we have a high resolution image that we can take from. So here's a goblin. And you know what? If we can't find any good cannibal type of look, we found a child just by skipping. So I'm going to go ahead and take this image. It's not letting me click on it, so I'm going to use my snipping tool. And then I'm just going to take this. So now we have, if we need it, horrible, but maybe we do need some type of stat block for Boba. So we're going to stick that here. Now we have a stat block for the baby if needed. Please protect the baby. But we still need to look for those cannibals. So I'm going to keep hitting here. And this is nice. We're seeing some monsters here as well, but I really want this cannibal. I'm not seeing anything good. Carry on, carrier holler, Bigfoot. Oh, Bigfoot. That would be an interesting. You know what? I'm just gonna yank it because you never know, right? Maybe we needed kills. Maybe things don't go exactly as planned. I'm going to take this stat block. Okay. So I'm trying to get a few stat blocks, but I really want the cannibals. Okay. So Bigfoot, just in case. And we got a plan, right? We never know if things are going to go our way, especially when we're planning, or if they're going to choose the right paths to go down. So we kind of have to decide what, um, just start pulling some monster stats out. Okay, Hobgoblin. Okay, this is not maybe ideal, but I think the Hobgoblin would do as a cannibal type of tribal person. We're going to go and steal that. Remember, these are third level characters. This guy has 11 hit points. That should be pretty good. And you can see I'm just shifting my pages around. And then now I have these hobgoblins. But, we want to have those minions so that, your characters can chop down a few of these guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this guy here for 11 hit points. But then, on the side here, we can just put down, 5 minions. And these will be the ones that the player should be able to chop down. So as you're playing, you're only going to really keep track of number 6 guy, the cannibal character. And then the other 5 minions will only have 1 hit points, but you'll use the exact same stat blocks. For a third level party, +3 to hit is pretty good. So I think this is good enough. So we're going to go to, this will be our cannibal. So this is going to basically give us a an encounter, right? And for any one shot, especially with your friends, wherever it is, you want to have around 3 encounters. Don't make them overdrawn. That's why I created just 1 hobgoblin with a bunch of minions. You want it to happen really fast, maybe a little bit of damage, but you don't really want it to last very long. Now we got Bigfoot here. And maybe you want to, one final thing before we get to the town, we want there to be an encounter with the Bigfoot or some type of monster. Or you know what? I'm feeling a hill giant. And this might be a case where you don't actually want the players to confront this guy because he might be able to kill them. So let's do a hill giant. Hill giant berserker. This seems like it's going to be overpowered, and it is. So let's not pick that. I'm not sure why, but here we go. Here's a nice stat block. Whoa, okay, this guy's too strong. 2 + 8 to hit. Okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and pick this guy, but we're going to modify him. All right, this is a third level party. We still want this hill giant to be deadly. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy again using my snipping tool. And like I said, most PCs have a snipping tool. I'm less sure about Macs, but they should have some type of snipping tool. So you can see it's a nice big stat block there. Yeah, you can sort of see it. It's kind of now a little bit of bleach on my screen over here, but I think you should be able to see that. And in point, you can always, modify the color of the image if you want to get better resolution. On my screen, it looks just fine. In case you're not seeing very good. Yeah, it does look a little bleached here. But anyway, so this one has 105 hit points, and I mentioned we're going to modify this a little bit because that's kind of a lot. But we're going to put maybe 50 hit points, cut it down by half. How do I know how many hit points to use? Well, I'm kind of taking a guess, right? We have 4 third level characters. Let's take the average hit dice of 8, and let's assume we're going to give them all, their maximum hit points. So that's going to be a total of 8 times 3, which is 24, times 4 players. That's about 100 hit points. This is about half that. You might even get away with using 100 hit points, but we're going to stick with 50. I don't like this +8, so while I'm playing, I'm going to remember, well, this is a little high, and I'm going to make this a +4. All right, so +4 instead. Okay, we can put it right here. And I'm digging this 3d8 +5 points of damage. It's, well, it might be a little excessive. Let's reduce that by at least 2d8. And because we do want this guy to be deadly. And we want mostly your players to avoid this guy. All right, so 2d8. And we'll do +5 for his strength. Okay, so now we got a giant here. And then we're going to set up some DCs. Now, the one thing I'm a big proponent of is making those abilities scores matter. And, if you're creating, it's nice. Sometimes you do want to set high DCs, but in cases like this, you don't really want to set high DCs. You want your players to be able to avoid this, and maybe even get surprise attack on this big guy. So I'm going to set a DC of 10. This is going to really make it easy. DC 10 to hear giant steps. Okay. Or you can also make, a DC 10 to notice what's called the perception that a giant is standing nearby. And, the one thing you want to tell your players is that, if you confront this giant, he might kill you. So that's something you want to avoid, right? Especially if they've taken some damage from the cannibals over here. Okay, so this is 2 encounters already. And what should a third and final encounter be? They've gotten to the town. They're getting really close. And just right off the top of my head, perhaps, maybe perhaps the town is being raided. It's being raided by orcs. So not only do they need to sneak into the town to avoid these orcs that are attacking the town from the outskirts, but they also need to get inside and deliver the baby, right? And then potentially help with the battle against the orcs. So how are we going to do this? We're going to first go find a fort of some kind. So battle map mountains, I'm going to put battle map fort to start. Let's see what comes up. Or maybe village. Ooh, I'm digging this one. So, okay, so we're seeing that some of these are really nice. Fort. So let me just go ahead and click this here. I'm actually liking this one. Look, we got pretty lucky, but let's take a quick look. The other thing is like, if you look below, it gives you a list of other types of, maps that you can use. In fact, this one looks kind of cool too. But we're looking at that resolution. It's 474, 315. Not very good. So I'm going to go back to the original. What is this one? Now, this is nice. This is 5,000 by 36,000. So this is super high resolution. And in fact, if you got a little bit of cheddar, you might actually be able to print this out, right? You have to make sure save it on a separate document. Make sure that you're using the exact inches on that document and line those up with these inch blocks here. And then you should be able to print it out. Otherwise, you can actually just put a paper piece, print it on a piece of paper, lay it on the table. And, I'm a big user of minis. So you have to have minis, or if you even have like little game pieces that you can use as, the players, you can tell them, okay, this is what you can, this is your character and you need to get into this fort. Now that I'm looking at this, I really don't like how high it is, right? You can see that there's a bunch of cliffs here and the players would need to get up. So we don't want that. We want them to kind of have a straight line shot to the village, and you get them in, get there and get the baby in. Right? I don't know what the hell happened here, but it happens. So these are all nice, but again, they're too fortified. So let's look here. What are we looking at here? Okay, this one's actually looking okay. You can see that the fortification, the walls are on the outskirts here. They have it, it could be a bay, it could be an ocean, it could be a lake, but it's pretty easy to get here. And so let's look at the resolution, 736 by 110. This is cutting it close to that 1,000, but you know what? I'm going to go and take it. Okay, I'm going to take it. The one thing I did forget, because we are doing this live, forgot to put us in a forest situation with the giant. So first, let me duplicate this a couple times. This is going to be our fort with the orcs. So let me go ahead and put that here. Right, that looks nice. And again, once we can adjust the the appearance, right? So if I just go to design, I don't know how many of you are good with PowerPoint. I use it quite often. As you've probably seen in my videos, I've used it all the time. And you can change the settings to basically match, a paper. It's on a whole paper. That's good enough. Center it there. These guys too, oops. You go back and okay. And then you should be able to print this out, right? With your computer or whatever you have at home, right? So this map too, if we're not happy with this orientation, we can easily flip it, stick it up here. Let's see if we can get it much bigger. And again, I use miniatures, I think miniatures is the way to go. I would just recommend, it takes time to build a repertoire. I started with like 10 minis, none painted. Took me a long time to paint them. But eventually, over time, you start by investing a couple dollars here, a couple there. Eventually, you have a nice army of miniatures. So here's the hill giant. We have the fort, but we want to do the forest for the hill giants. So I'm just going to very quickly put forest battle map. And again, this is the Johnny on the spot ghetto rigged game that we can put together if you don't have the money to get all these maps and spend a lot of time. I'm just trying to show you a very quick way to pull all these out. So I'm just looking at all these different maps, seeing which one of these would best suit my needs. And I'm kind of digging this one down here. There's a lot of trees. This looks good. Resolution is 1200 by 2400. So I'm just going to take it. It's a little lengthy, but I think it'll do the job. So I'm going to go ahead and paste it here. That's fine. Always mad respect to T-Hawks. Hopefully you're not mad that I'm using it. There we go. I just kind of cropped it a little bit. I want to, utilize the entire space as best as possible. And then, now I can actually throw in my game pieces on top of here and, say something like, well, maybe they're walking through this forest. Do they see something over here, right in the top right area? Do they see a giant standing there, or do they hear it coming? And then there's trees here that they can all hide in. Maybe you can give them advantage to avoid the hill giant, but maybe he attacks one. Maybe he's not interested in fighting. See what the disposition of the giant is. Maybe they want to observe it first to see, do they even want to, wait for it to pass by. But the point is you want to make a roll, DC 10. Usually somebody fails, so somebody might get killed or get injured poorly, and allow them to run away, like allow them to escape. The giant is more there to protect itself, allow them to get away. Going back to the town now, we want to use orcs. Now this is nice. We both know in 5.5, the orcs have become a playable character, which, whatever. I don't think it actually matters. I know pissed off a lot of people. But people already have orcs, and most of the time, at least in one of my homebrew campaigns, an orc actually runs one of my cities, right? So never been an issue in terms of making them players as well. So I'm going to do orcs. I'm just going to do 5e stacked. And of course, we're going to get the, excuse me, 5.0 stat. Because it's no longer in the monster manual, we're going to go ahead and click our snipping tool. Take that. You know what? We're going to take this whole thing. So let me redo this because we also want to have a chieftain. Just in case. And, just in case a battle persists. So we don't even actually need the orc chieftain. So right now we have the stats if we need them, right? We have orcs. They're surrounding the town. I want you guys, and then this is what you do, okay? If you've seen some of my videos, I believe in just progressing the story in terms of like, what do you guys want to do? Just give them options. Say, look, I'm going to let you go to, all of you guys make a perception check. And whoever makes the highest roll, they're the one, and this is all just to move the story forward. They see a path that would be not very visible to the orcs. And as long as they lay low, they should be able to get through there. And then you say, okay, go ahead and make a roll to see if you can get there. And, based on our map here, we can say there's, maybe the orcs are attacking from the right over here. I'm going to make a little weird blobby thing just so we can have kind of a point of reference. Making green because orcs are green. We want to maybe battling more. They're covering all this. But you see a way for your players, to get across this way, right? So then we want them to make some type of stealth roll. It's actually not very good. Let's do yellow. We want to make some type of stealth roll so they can crawl around through this way and potentially get in through this entrance. Okay. Now, this is a situation when you can actually make the DC pretty high. Make it a DC high, quote unquote, like a DC 15. Everybody has to make a stealth check. And whoever fails alerts some of the orcs over here. Now, the key thing here is you don't want them to just get charged by the orcs. So rather what you're going to do is going to show that these orcs see them and they're going to throw some spears. Okay. And when they get caught, or if they all succeed, that's awesome. But if they don't, the orcs just throw spears. And it's like, one of those movie situations where you see a bunch of spears flying in their direction. And in that case, you can essentially create, low DC. So first we're going to do a DC 15 stealth to the back area to deliver the baby. We haven't forgot. You also got to keep the baby shoosh. And then if you fail, we're going to do a DC 10 dexterity check or take 2d6 damage. Okay. And that 2d6 damage is essentially going to be spears hitting them, sticking them. We don't want them to get excessively damaged. So we don't want them to get excessively damaged. I don't know if my coder is working very well. Well, look, it's working. It's fine. I don't understand this delay. Excuse me. So we want them to get there into 2d6 damage if they all get hit. And again, we don't want to stop them, but we want them to feel terrorized and feel like they're being attacked. And once they do that, they can get into the building here. Once they get in, you can say, okay, you get in for free, but you actually managed to get a lot of orcs to come this way. They do decide to let you in. They see you're carrying a baby with you. You seem like a friendly group. You are not orcs, so you're allowed to come to the fortress. And then at that point, you can run in. They meet with, the town magistrate. And in this case, we can just pick an NPC fighter. We want it to be relatively strong because he's kind of like the lead of the fort. And I've seen these before. We should be able to pull a pretty high tier fighter. Here's a tier 1 ranger. And again, this is I put in the thing in the search box NPC fighter 5e. This is what I'm getting, but then you can see that once you pick one, it tends to give you more other options, right? Okay, rogue tier 4. Hey, look, let's not make it too difficult on ourselves. The boss man is a rogue. Okay, so we're going to pick a rogue. He's the boss man. And you know what? I don't want this Bigfoot stat to go to waste. So we're going to say he has a bodyguard. That's a Bigfoot. Although he seems way more powerful than his Bigfoot. Which is fine. I mean, we can double the hit points of this Bigfoot if we want. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. 44. Okay, 44 hit points for our records. The main guy who owns the town is a rogue. I'm going to do a quick look real quick because maybe we do want a fighter. Very quick here. And I'm getting various ones, but I'm not getting exactly what I want. Let me go back to the original search box. So again, I'm designing a quick 3 encounters. Uh, I'm really heavy into battle, and this is, you want to get to the area, whatever the location is, and you want your guys to be able to survive that. So I'm totally for, having at least 3 little battles happening. Um, and let's see, the computer is lagging a little. Otherwise, this would go just a little faster. I'm not really sure. Can I hit the back button here? Okay, that helped. So I'm still pulling down. Ooh, this is nice. So this is a veteran, and actually, if you have the player's handbook with you or the monster manual, especially the new one, 2024 has a lot of really good NPCs that you can use. But if we don't want to waste our time digging through that book right now, and we want to be Johnny on the spot, ghetto-fied creator, we're just going to take this, and we can also use this guy. Okay. Now, I think the final thing I want to do, so I think we have our attack situation down. We have a lead guy, he's a rogue. We have a veteran here. And we really, maybe a weaker man. What is this one? Red Buffian. Let's see. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Yeah, these are actually pretty good too. But let's see if we can just pick. Whoa. 5e stat block, savage, and we're gonna also put fighter. You know what? I should have pulled that fighter one. And this is exactly why you should sometimes just pull these images and figure out what you're gonna do with it later. So here's the fighter one, tier 1. I'm just gonna take it. This is gonna be every other villager or person in that town that decides to battle. Armor class 14. 34 hit points. That's still pretty high, but you know what? We're going to keep it. I'm going to create one more page. I'm going to drop it here. And I think the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some ballistas on some of these towers just to kind of create more action. So I'm going to put ballista 5e. There it is. And I'm going to allow the players to actually shoot at the orcs and do some damage. Okay. Why did it have to be so fancy? We just want your standard ballista. But as I closed that, I saw something else. Animated short bow, ballista, the resolution, not too bad. So I'm just going to take this. Okay, here's our fighter stat. I don't need to hear it. I'm going to create one more page. Okay. Put the ballista down. Okay. I'm going to crop this because I want to actually focus on these stats. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to stretch this out a little bit. These stats don't, this definition is quite poor. You know what? We're going to do it live. I mean, I got to pick a better stat block than that. That one looks like crap. And deployed ballista 30. You know what? I don't see a damage on this. Oh, here, yeah. Infantry ballista. Let's go and just steal this one. I couldn't find the damage on that other one. So I'm going to delete this. I know I said don't delete stuff, but the resolution on that one's pretty bad. And even though this one's not that good, we're going to go ahead and hit some sharpening here. This is going to make it good enough. We have damage TD10. And then we're going to create, have them shoot several ballistas at different squads. Do 2d10 points of damage. If you want, you can say, you know what, roll a 1d6, and that's how many targets you're going to hit. So you have this ballista that's bouncing off the ground and hitting a bunch of other monsters. And then, how many orcs should I use? I mean, this is the tough part about the game. And what you could do is just randomly say, I'm going to use 50 orcs. Okay. Remember to use those ballistas, so they're just going to attack. The orcs, have an armor class of 15. If they're a fighter background or if they're a wizard, they can shoot cantrips and stuff like that. You can have, let's say, 50 orcs, but if they seem to be overpowering your, and make sure you're describing they're climbing up the walls. I need you to roll, shoot a ballista at them and see how many of those you can knock down, and make it, you know, uh, maybe even an armor class of 10 or DC 10 to hit 1d6 different orcs that are trying to climb up the wall, and really just describe it. That's a ballista flies through, it ricochets off the city wall, and you see all these orcs flying in the air, and you kill roll 1d6. How many orcs do you think you kill? And you do this a few times. And what you really want is to, maybe every now and then you make everybody make a dexterity check again, DC 10. These spears, these arrows are coming in, they're raining into the town. You can even make it 100 orcs. But the point is, once these guys start doing enough damage to these orcs, you just, as a DM, decide, they lose morale. They decide that they can't actually take the town. And they all start abandoning, running backwards, back into the forest, and eventually, hopefully in the future, they would gonna regroup and come back and try to attack the town again. Okay, so I think I showed you in the last 30 minutes that, how to just kind of Johnny on the spot. And, pick the class or race or whatever they want to be, they can choose if they don't want to waste the time doing that. So I think that's it. I'm Don Franco 3. This is RPG Booms, where we talk about everything RPG and how everything is RP. It does say the Twilight Hour up there. It's not the Twilight Hour. It's actually almost pushing midnight here. That's it. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope this was useful for somebody. Just Johnny and Spot, Ghetto Rig, one-shot creation. See how you can just pull all this stuff. You don't need a bunch of money and fancy stuff. You can pull a lot of resources off the internet and just create a one-shot. Thank you for stopping by.